I was struck, Sheikh, when coming here, from the little that I know, it reminded me of the sacred geography of Baghdad.
And if anyone's ever experienced that before, they'll know what I'm referring to when we talk about the compartmentalization of religion.
So this openness, rootedness, and this contemporary perspective, these are the things that I have observed in both youth conference and also in Merkez.
Ya Allah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. MashaAllah. It's a very happy moment to sit with you after the youth conference. So the guests coming from different parts of the world, from south and from west and east, and from the capital of the Osmaniyate. MashaAllah, we are very happy to see you here in Marcus Knowledge City. So I would like to know your feelings about the Kerala, the state of Kerala. How you feel? You spent here a few days and you have seen this atmosphere, the greenery, the water, and the people. So how was it?
Amazing. I found that amazing entry. This is my very first trip to the whole of India, Sheikh. My very first maiden visit to India, and the passport I came in is through Khairullah, God's own country. Kerala, I mean, it's a wonderful country, mashallah, mashallah. And it's amazing that when we look at the conference, with thousands of people being there, in some other countries, I will not name those countries, normally if you have this many people, it's for electioneering. People go there to listen to politicians. Well, football match. So, but here, mashallah, for the deen.
Alhamdulillah, every year 1 or 2 gatherings like this will happen in Kerala. And we have several organizations like Jam'iyatul Ulama, then the parent body of Muslim Jamaat, then youth, then students. So different programs every year there will be there. So thousands of people will gather on some occasion. So particularly the state of Kerala, for its, the Kerala, the name came from coconut tree. It is in southmost of India, but it is not that much hot as the North India. The maximum temperature to 36. Sometimes in some districts only it goes more than 36. This is because of the coconut tree. It looks like an umbrella, one stem and a shade. And the coconut was the first given to the Islam. When the Arabs came to the coast of Kerala, they were gifted this tender coconut drink. So they asked, it is from your garden? Where is this from? So the Keralites were strange. Why asking like this? And so they said, we are Muslims. We drink only from the halal. So we should know its source, where it's from. That was the reason they entered to Islam. The first family. MashaAllah. And the Kerala is following the Shafi school of thoughts in fiqh and Ash'ari in Aqidah. Also the system of Ba'alawi, Abdullah al-Haddad, radiyallahu anhu. Because the propagators came to Kerala is from Yemen, mostly. MashaAllah. So, Dr. Yahya, what is your feeling about the youth conference?
MashaAllah, it was very, very beautiful to see. One of the things that stood out in my mind is how integrated you are into the society here. Oftentimes when you visit places, the schools where they're training future scholars, they'll be focused just upon their studies. They don't train them from the early stages to know how to interact with society at all different levels. So I was very impressed to see that in addition to that big tent where you had the book fair, but then you also have the exposition there of all the different businesses, and that from medicine to that construction to that AI and technology and things of that nature. And I thought that was just really important. There's a bifurcation of knowledge in the Muslim world still that we're suffering from. But to try to bridge that gap of the sacred sciences and then from the perspective of the sacred to engage that everyday life, I think is one of the things that really stood out for me. So.
And there was one area of EduSign. EduSign is about 100 counselors sitting live, students and parents coming, and the same place, they are getting the good guidance about their future education and career. Is it how you think about this? Any suggestion on that? Or
Alhamdulillah, I observed a forward-looking approach, in both in the youth conference and in the markets. Alhamdulillah, it is not like lost in historical study of Islam, but it's a forward-looking and very much in touch with the current realities, in the world, and this rootedness also is there because Alhamdulillah, India, Kerala has a long tradition of Islamic civilization in peaceful coexistence with neighbors, Hindu, Buddhist, from other religions. So this openness, rootedness, and this contemporary perspective, these are the things that I have observed in both youth conference and also in Merkez. And I am confident that these elements, will be the key of the success of your future generations. And
I think you have noticed that the chief minister, other ministers, different political parties, Christians, Hindus, and communists, all coming to the conference.
Yes, I argue that Islam is an open civilization. This is how it is established by Rasulullah in Medina. Rasulullah incorporated Jews, mushriks, and Christians, in the Medina society, regardless of what they thought about Islam. And later it continued during the Khulafa al-Rashidin, Abbasid, Umayyads, and also in India, it continued. I use Muslims in India as a good example of Islamic open civilization, where Muslims coexist peacefully with non-Muslims who are not Ahl Kitab, not Christian and Jew. So a good example is like Andalusia, Ottoman Empire, but I believe Indian example and Indian experience is more important to demonstrate universalism of Islam to the whole world.
Yeah.
That Muslims here, has been living with non-Muslims who are not Ibrahimi, who don't follow the Abrahamic religions, and this is the Adami open civilization
You
based
have
on the
witnessed
Adami.
that, yeah. India, the Muslim minority is enjoying its freedom. You have seen that big tent, about 10,000 resident delegation, 3 days. And in the open conference, about 25,000 people coming from different walks of life, evening session only. So how in India the Muslims are free to propagate their deen, for gathering, for expression of their thoughts, everything. Sometimes people from other countries, they don't know Muslims are this much free in India. Whether you were thinking like this before you come here?
Well, I think some of us thought that this is quite an amazing sight. I mean, who would have thought that in a country where secularism, quote unquote, is the main system here, you really can't even see secularism in the way that we see that in the West, for example. And I think that is very interesting. in places where Islamophobia is quite pronounced and quite high. Here you see people mingling quite naturally. And I'm reminded, Sheikh, of one of the Ba'alawis from our country in Singapore, Habib Hassan al-Attas. He mentioned that whenever Islam goes, if it is certainly not by the sword, as in the case of Andalusia, it will always remain and it will last. And I think what he said is actually quite true. I think the example of Kerala here in India, for example, is an example where Islam had been rooted here from the earliest times until today. And that's really because they never fought to bring Islam here, in the same way that Islam came to my country in Malaysia, in Singapore, and in Indonesia. But I wanted to pick up what you just mentioned to Dr. Rajab earlier about the EduCity, which is very interesting. The counselors that they actually had. I don't know whether you guys saw this. This is very interesting for myself. And I teach at Oxford University, and we are very concerned always to have access programs for students who would like to go to the university. But when I saw the counselors there, I just thought this is like, mashallah, the SYS conference way of killing two birds with one stone. And what do I mean by that is, on the one hand, you're giving career counseling advice to essentially people who also come from madrasas, on the one hand, people who come from school and they don't know what to do. But there is also in Malaysia, where I originally come from, and we now have an issue where the government itself is looking at madrasa students in particular to try and retrain and give them a new skill, which could be in TVET, vocational training, for example. Because a lot of our countries focus too much on academic training. They forget that vocational training is actually very Islamic in that sense, an important part of any society. And Germany is a good example in the West, where they have very advanced, vocational training programs. So your if you're asking for what could be done to improve, and I think this is the bit that I would say.
EduSign program, it is a permanent system, so your valuable advices will add to it future.
MashaAllah.
Inshallah. It is under the WEFI. It means Wisdom Education Foundation, India. Alhamdulillah. And now we are sitting in the Knowledge City, Marcus Knowledge City. We recently established, not yet completed. So, Alhamdulillah, you all traveling around the world, you are living in big cities. Also, new cities developed in your countries like Putrajaya and in Istanbul. We developed this city by the ulama and the Islamic society, not by government or a rich community. So it's a city around the masjid. Masjid-centric city, education institutions and commercial project, hospitality, hospitals and markets. So this is the apt time to get your races for this, inshallah. Hadara.
I was struck, Sheikh, when coming here, from the little that I know, it reminded me of the sacred geography of Baghdad. Because Baghdad was designed during the time of Khalifa Mansur as a dairah, as a circle.
The round city of
The only difference is the center of Baghdad is the palace. MashaAllah, the palace is the palace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, but amazing. So when I came here and I thought, I asked one of our friends taking care of it, I said, can I see a map of the city? Can I see? So it is basically a circle, just like Baghdad. So it's an amazing thought that is put into this, mashallah.
Dr. Rajab, we were talking about the civilization or the city of Marcus Knowledge City.
Yes.
What is lacking here, or what is to add to it?
Yeah. First of all, let me begin with the name Marquez, because in Istanbul we have Merkez Efendi Külliyesi. So this sheikh was named Marquez. Why? because his name is Hüsamettin, I think. But his Sheikh Sumbul Efendi loved him so much. But other students, they were jealous of him. So one day, Sheikh wanted to show them why he loved Hüsamettin more than themselves. So he asked this question to the students. If you were given the chance to make changes in the world, what kind of changes you would make? And then everyone said something. Like one said, I would leave no kufr in the world. The other said, I would leave no war, eliminate all the wars. Some said, I would make no winter, etc. And then when the
More
term,
winter?
no winter.
Oh, no winter.
So when the turn of Hüsamettin came, he said, I would leave everything in its markers. I wouldn't change anything. Because how can I dare to make something better than Allah? So he did the best. So it would be like, transgressing my limits to say that I will design the world better than Allah. I would leave everything in its markers. So then the Sheikh said, okay, from now on, we'll call you Markez Effendi. So he's always called Markez Effendi. So there is a philosophy, behind it that Allah, put everything in its best Markez possible. So maybe you can make some kind of connection with Merkez Efendi Külliyesi. So this place, civilizationally looking at it, is a külliye. And külliye means university. University is translation of külliye.
No.
But in modern Arabic, they made a mistake by calling faculty külliye,
Yeah.
and then the university jamia.
Jamia.
So there's a confusion about this. So in the Ottoman civilization, they built külliye. Külliye means at the center there is a mosque. Around it there is hospital, university, and madrasas for all levels, library, hospital, and bazaar. Shopping all together. Okay, so here, the same logic is implemented, knowingly or unknowingly, but Allah Ta'ala guided, the designers to this. Perhaps this is the logical path of a Muslim. Ilm and amal, and also business together. So there is no separation between ilim, amal, and business. No secular, no religious. Everything is religious, everything is sacred. So we observe this here. And also the design of the mosque, alhamdulillah, it's very good. In the Muslim world, we have some mosques without any symbolism, without any design, without any decoration. They are like storage room, just to cover as many people as possible. But here, when you enter there, you become aware that you are entering a worship place, and all the names like reminding you ashab, and also the ulama and awliya who lived before us. So basically, you are reminded that you are their descendants, and you are following their footsteps. So this gives a spiritual depth and also historical rootedness, to people who are entering there. And the design, mashallah, is perfect, with the wood. So it makes the design a unique and distinct design, alhamdulillah. So like someone who sits there gets transformed and feels this spirituality. So the ikhlas of the people who build it already reflected there. MashaAllah, it's very clean, very orderly. I am impressed, with the orderliness, and everything is systematized. MashaAllah, This is what impressed me, in Marquez, in education city, Alhamdulillah. And you did the most wise thing by building these residential houses here to populate the masjid. Sometimes, this also part of this civilizational perspective, like a bazaar, shopping center, and homes are necessary to bring life to the big masjid. So in some places they build a big masjid, nothing around it. It's like dehumanized, depopulized, by building these shops, and then building homes near to it. Basically, you are humanizing, you are populating the environment, and also school is near to it. There is hospital, there is hotel, cafe, everything. So it brings life to it. So this is much better than like making a big masjid and around this is empty and nobody around. No one would want to go there because there is big distance. So Alhamdulillah, it's a very good design, inshallah.
Inshallah. Shaykh Yahya.
MashaAllah. One of the things that I tend to look from this perspective, I was once before I became Muslim, a Protestant Christian. And if anyone's ever experienced that before, they'll know what I'm referring to when we talk about the compartmentalization of religion. This is one of the main traits of our time, where people's religions become compartmentalized. This is just one aspect of their life. You can go to church one day of the week, and then you kind of have a general sense of morality and try to be a good person, and that's it. And I think that human beings suffer when this is the case. When I became Muslim and was introduced to the holistic teachings of Islam as a deen, as an entire way of life, a way of being. Dr. Rajab was speaking about Futuwa these past couple of days, and this code. There's just a way of the prophets that you're supposed to follow. And I think that the more that Muslims have been, in Muslim civilization, have been infected and affected by modernity, that you see the same things happening. And I think it's an upward battle. It's very easy that the natural state of things is to be compartmentalized unless you fight against it. I mean, surely from that, like we live in the West, I live in the United States of America, Dr. Afifi lives in England, more so in the West than in other places, but it's also in every that country to this day that's been impacted by this. And I think that it's really beautiful to see kind of this amazing markaz where they're going against the grain. And they're trying to, because if you think about it, that someone on their own, that's a very difficult thing to expect people to do, to have the requisite knowledge and state of heart that you need to live your personal life of piety, your family life, your social life, your work life, your community life. To be able to do that on your own and to work that out is not an easy thing. So to have something like this, I think that facilitates that for people. And then necessarily what follows is healthy living. I think one of the great barometers for how people are doing in the Muslim world and at an individual, family, communal level is to see how healthy that society, those families, those individuals are. And I've always thought of health as having 6 different dimensions. You have the most important, which is the spiritual and the religious. And then you have the psychological and the emotional. And then you can have the rational and the intellectual. Then you have the physical. But then you have the 2 that are exterior to the human being, the social and then the environmental. So to come here and to see, as Dr. Rajab mentioned, people are living here together. They're praying together. That you took us to the mountain this morning. We got to see the beautiful landscape and learn about all of the amazing things that are being grown here, and the importance of agriculture and the importance of preserving the environment and so forth. And then the other dimensions as well, the physical and that everything that comes from that. We're in a lobby here where you have rooms, mashallah, of the different types of, I don't like to call it alternative medicine, the foundational medicine, Ayurvedic and Unani Tib, and Chinese medicine, homeopathy. And this when we go against the grain like this, and with examples of what you're doing, I think that this is a great service to humanity. And I'm hoping that this place will be, inshallah ta'ala, a place that many people can come and be inspired to that do what they can in the places that they come from. And this is certainly one of my intentions in coming here, is to benefit from this beautiful model and to hopefully do what it is that we can back home in my country.
Inshallah. America, we can have, inshallah, one Marcus knowledge.
Inshallah.
Could take off this
Multiple,
program.
all throughout. America is big, like India. So all throughout America, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Multiple.
Branches of the Marcus.
Inshallah.